Today's lesson 2.7 is on multi-digit addition. The lesson objective: I can solve multi-digit addition problems using the partial sums algorithm. I can also use rounding to figure out a ballpark estimate. Please put the lesson objective in your math notebook now. You are going to be taking your math notebook and copying down these two addition problems and working out the answer. It is very important that you show your work in your math notebook. We will be coming back to the answers that you come up with later in the video. Let's think about what is a ballpark estimate. A ballpark estimate is getting to an answer that is close but not necessarily exact, and you are going to be using your ability to round numbers to figure out a ballpark estimate, and we are going to be practicing that in the next slide. So here we have a problem, 44 plus 87, and both of the numbers are written to the tens place. So we are going to be rounding to the tens. So when you do so, you need to look at your number that's in the tens place, which is 4, which is actually 40, and then look to your right and you have a 4 in the ones place. So with that 4, that indicates that you are going to stay at 40. So your 44 rounded is actually 40. Then you're going to add 87 rounded, and you underline your highest place, which is 8, look to the right, and that 7 indicates for you to bump it up to 9. And so now we have 9 tens, which is 90. So when you add 40 plus 90, your answer is going to be 130. Next one, we have 23. We have a 2 in the tens place, which is 20. We look to the right. That 3 indicates that we stay at 20, because anything less than 5, you stay. Anything 5 or more, you bump it up. Now we have 7 tens. Look to the right, and we have a 7, which indicates that we bump up that 7 to 8, which is 8 tens, which is 80. Thinking about 20 plus 80 is 100. In this equation, we have a number written into the hundreds and a number written into the tens. So we're going to round 147 to the nearest hundreds. Underline the highest place, which is that 1. Look to the right, which is a 4. That indicates that we stay at 100. And we're going to look at 56, and we are going to bump it up to 60. So when you push 100 and 60 together, you have an answer of 160. Again, we have two numbers now written to the hundreds, so we're going to round to the nearest hundreds. We have 3 hundreds, so we're going to look to the right. That 4 tells us to stay at our 300, which we will. And then we will add 281, look to the right with that 8, that tells us to push it up, bump it up. So we have 300 plus 300, plus 300 equals 600. We are going to practice a few more on the next slide, and that is going to be working on numbers into the thousands. This is the highest place. So we have 1,000. Look at the number right next door to 2. That tells us to stay at 1,000. We have 5,000. Look to the right, there's a 4. That tells us to stay at 5,000. And now it's just a matter of putting those two numbers together, and we come up with an estimated answer of 6,000. Think about this next problem. How would you go about estimating it? One number is into the hundreds and one number is into the thousands. So using our estimating to the highest place value, we would go round this number to the hundreds. We have 279, so we know with that 7, that indicates us to bump it up. So we're going to go 300 plus 3,103. Look to the right. That tells us to stay at 3,000. So our answer is 3,300 would be a very good ballpark estimate. And the last one, again, both numbers are into the thousands. So we are going to look at the thousands place. But look at that 5. Anything 5 or more tells us to bump it up. So we're going to go up to 8,000. And we have a 4,000. Look to the right. 8 tells us to bump it up to 5,000. So now you have to think, what is 8,000 plus 5,000? And 8 plus 5 is 13, so 8,000 plus 5,000 is 13,000. So we have just been practicing doing some ballpark estimates, and that's what you are going to be expected to think about in later on in this video. So back to partial sums addition. When you are doing partial sums addition, you can see that they have lined up the tens and they have lined up the ones. So your adding goes pretty easily. And when you do partial sums, you start at the highest place, which is in the tens place here, and you think 40 plus 30. This is 4 tens, which is 40, 3 tens, which is 30. Add them together and you get 70. Then you move to the ones place and you think 6 plus 7 is 13 and write that underneath, and you can see that they are lined up right under each other to make it easier, and then you get an answer of 83. So hopefully when you worked out your problem at the very start of the video, you also had an answer of 83. Next problem, we have 233 plus 158. We're going to start in the highest place, which is our hundreds. We have 200 plus 100 equals 300, and I'm going to line up my numbers under digits underneath each other. Then I'm going to move to my tens, and I have 3 tens and 5 tens, which you know and I know is 30 plus 50, which is 80. So again, I put my 8 in the tens place, and then my 0 in the ones place, and then finally we think of our numbers in the ones place, and that's 3 plus 8, which is 11. And then simply add them up. We have 1, 9, 3. So hopefully when you did your math problem at the very start, you had an answer of 391. This problem just happened to show you how to do it partial product or partial addition. So now it's going to be your opportunity to practice. You have 3 different problems that you are going to be copying into your math notebook. and solving them using the partial sums method. And you are also going to be asked to think about a ballpark estimate. So we're going to do the ballpark estimates together right now. When you are going to be working in your math journal, you will have a chance to do them more independently. But thinking about 56 plus 34, so 56 we know is rounded up to 60, plus 34 is closer to 30. So our ballpark estimate for the first problem is about 90. So thinking of that's when you work out your problem using partial sums, hopefully you get an answer of about 90. Next problem, we have 237 plus 185. We know that 237 rounds to 200. 185 is also rounds to 200. So our ballpark estimate would be 400. And the last one, we have two numbers into the thousands, so we're going to look at our thousands place with that 7. That indicates for us to bump it up to 5,000. Then we have 2,000. Look to the right, there's that 4. We're going to stay at 2,000. So when we push 5,000 plus 2,000 together, we are going to have an answer of 7,000. So I helped you with the ballpark estimates. Now your job is to actually do the different problems and using the partial sums method. So if you have to go back and review how you get a partial sums answer, you can go back and review that and then work out the problems. Be sure you show your work in your math notebook because we are going to be checking. So pause and do your math problem. And while you have it paused, I am going to be working out the problems and you can check back and see how well you did. As you can notice, I have worked very hard to try and make sure my digits are all lined up underneath each other because that helps to make the adding, the column addition, to be easier for you. So when you, hopefully when you did your work, you did the similar, that you lined up your numbers in ones place, tens place, hundreds place, etc. So here are the answers for our three equations, and you can see that these two, our ballpark estimate and the actual answer, were exactly the same. Our ballpark estimate was 400, the actual answer was 422, so that's very close. And our ballpark estimate was 7,000, the actual answer was 7,214, which again is very close. So we did a good job on our ballpark estimate, and hopefully you did a good job of working out the answers. Moving along, you are now going to get a chance to Think about some questions. The first question, which equation shows a good estimate for 294 plus 369? Remember, you're using the rounding to the highest place value method. So you have to think which one of these would be a good estimate, ballpark estimate for 294 plus 369. Next problem. You again have to think about which one of these choices would be a good ballpark estimate for 1,792 plus 529. And then the last two problems, you get to actually work out some addition problems using the partial sums addition algorithm. And again, I can't tell you enough, expect that you show your work in your math notebook as to how you got your answer. So you'll be doing that for 3 and also for 4. Good luck, and we'll be talking about the answers tomorrow, and we will also continue to do some more practice with partial sums addition.